All aboard the hyperfixation station. My name's Quinlan and I am slightly quintoxicated. But I'm gonna get more so, because today what we're doing is we're gonna rank the episodes of Volume 8 on a tier list while getting drunk. That's not really part of it, but it is now. Can't really make this a drinking game. Like, you can't be like, oh yeah, every time you rank one, take a drink, because that's just 14 sips. Like, that's not a game, that's just an increment assigned. So the game is I drink when I feel like it. Going well so far. So yeah, I made a tier list maker. I tried to get screenshots of each episode that exemplified that you would be able to know which episode it is by watching. Hopefully that worked, but it's me, so I'm gonna know what episode I meant, so it's all good. Yeah, so I did already, full disclosure, rank this multiple times because I changed my mind. I'm terrible at tier lists. I am just confession time. I am the world's worst tier lister. Actually, there's probably worse. I can't even figure out where to rank myself on a tier list of tier list abilities. Okay. That should show you. Basically, I'm incredibly indecisive. And I have all these different metrics for this episode's really good standing alone, but then in the course of the volume, it doesn't really help, and it actually detracts from this, and this, so it's really hard for me to rank these episodes, but I really want to make a video that's all the episodes ranked from best to worst, and I need to do this to try to help me, so let's see if my intoxicated brain is a little bit better at making decisions. That's never gonna end well. Don't do that, kids. All right. So let's go over the tiers. First of all, there's worst, which I already know the episode that's going in that category. Intoxicated or not, I know what episode is going in worst. And that's for episodes that I feel both failed in execution as well as concept, the idea of it itself was bad. And something that in of itself in a vacuum wasn't good, and also wasn't good for the volume. That's what that tier is. Bad is kind of it's not necessarily bad, because I don't really think other than the one that goes in worst, I don't think there are any episodes of this volume that I would say is just a bad episode. I want to preface this. I preface after already recording for 5 whole minutes. I want to preface this by saying that Volume 8 is my favorite volume. Yes, there's a lot of flaws with it. Yes, there's a lot wrong with it. There's a lot that could have been done better. There's a lot that was severely disappointing. But it's my favorite. I really, really enjoyed Volume 8. There's a lot to love about it, and I'm going to give it that love. Good and bad. That's what creative processes are. Everything's going to have good, everything's going to have bad, and that's okay. Even if I'm really mad about some of things, I'm also really happy about other things, so. Subjectivity. Right, so bad is more, I don't know, I guess we'll see when we get to it what fits in there. But it's not necessarily this is a objectively bad episode, but in the sense of I disliked it for certain reasons, or it wasn't enjoyable. Decent, but I think I made that category for episodes that are they're they're fine. They're not bad episodes. I would put them in a good episode category. But they're kind of on rewatch is partially what I had. I think at one point that said decent but on rewatch, but I keep changing what the tiers are. That's another reason I'm bad at tier lists, is I can always change what I write for the tiers. Okay. I'm drunk. Barely. I'm just tipsy, but. Alright, mixed bag. I already know an episode that I think is going to go in there. Well, actually, I might. We'll see. Mixed bag is for episodes that had things that it's not necessarily below solid great. It's definitely below best of the best, but Mixed bag isn't necessarily below solid or great, and it's also not necessarily above decent but It's kind of for episodes that I had stuff that I really, really liked and stuff that I really disliked. So it's incredibly polarizing, so I wouldn't feel right putting it in any sort of category based on just half of it or like parts of it, you know? Solid is for episodes that I'm like, you know what, that was decent, like in of itself for what it was, for what it needed to do, it did it. And it did it effectively. Great is for episodes that I was going to say thoroughly enjoyed, but honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed most episodes of this volume. Almost all of them. Almost. But yeah, great is for ones that I felt there was a lot of effort and love put into them, and it shows. And, I mean, well, there's a lot of love put into all of these, I'm certain, and it shows in a lot of different ways. Like, even the ones that I didn't like had elements that I did. But yeah, great is for ones that I think are just, you know, great. Like, episodes that I'm like, that was a good episode. That was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. It did things well. And then best of the best is exactly what it says on the tin. It's the episode or episodes. Yeah, I can put multiple up there. We'll see. I've changed which ones go up there. Usually the same 2 or 3, but I can't remember what order. And I'm like, we'll see what I feel like now, because it's been multiple weeks since I last attempted this. When I first made it and was like, let's just try and put them somewhere. And then, good lord, my undercut is so long now. Freaking quarantine. I don't want to cut my hair. We don't have scissors. Saved. Yeah, so those are the categories. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do it in order. Okay. Chapter 1. Divide. So what happened in it? Divide, there was, it started out, it opened with Cinder scrubbing the floor, and then they went to Monstra, and they had the scene with Salem. That had a pretty good line in it. Just because you're more valuable to me than a pawn does not make you a player. Like that. Oof. It's a good line. And then it cuts to Ruby picking up Oscar, and they all go there, and then they talk about their decisions, and there's like a rift, they split up. And then Ironwood shoots a dude. Sorry, Sleet. I remember enjoying it. I remember when I first watched it. Yeah, I'll do that. When I go through these, I'll talk about like what I thought the first time and what I think now. Maybe I won't go over them for all of them. We'll see. We're on this journey together. I'm already drunk. How am I such a lightweight? I did start before this video, but like I haven't had anything other than it's like here now maybe. I mean, it is a harder lemonade, so it's not 5%, it's 8. Don't worry, I know I'm mathematical about my alcohol intake. I am safe and responsible. I was the person who carried around a little blood alcohol chart. Anyway, right, so when I first watched it, I remember thinking that I really liked it, and I was really excited for Volume 8. I really, really liked how Yang and Ruby got to disagree. As someone with siblings, I don't always feel like Yang and Ruby's relationship feels like siblings. And look, they got to disagree. That's something siblings do. Feels like you should have been able to disagree a bit more sooner. But the thing is it makes sense because Yang was the only one out of Team RWBY, or RWBY and John, Ren, and Nora. It was really just Yang and Oscar. Just Yang and Oscar were the only ones who went to RWBY and were like, hey, we're really lying to Ironwood? You sure about that? You sure, fam? And so it makes sense that, you know, lying to Ironwood and then everything that happened kind of led to Ironwood not trusting them. But then again, Blake and Yang going to tell Robin was also listed as part of why Ironwood turned on them. So, like, little both. But I did like that they got to disagree, and I did like the teams splitting up. And for the most part, they stayed the same. It was just dissenters was Nora and Yang swapping. And then Penny going. I think it did a good job setting up what was going to happen in the volume, wherever the directions were going, what the intentions were, so that we knew what to expect, so that when it didn't happen or when it went wrong, we felt that impact. So, you know, I feel like before I put it in decent but But honestly, I'm going to put it in solid. Remember that mixed bag isn't necessarily a middle ground. Like, this is kind of, it could go all over the place. It's just a nice category for things that I am polarized on. But yeah, I'm putting it in solid because I think it fits. It did the job it needed to do. It established what was going on, both with the villains and with the heroes. And then it went to Ironwood, and it kind of showed that he was going to be a secondary villain, so it set up his kind of pulling in. And, you know, I'm not going to go into a whole thing about Ironwood and, like, what is or isn't good about how he was handled, because there's a lot to say there. But it also showed us Winter and the Aesops. It did a really good job of, Chapter 1 did a really good job of showing where everyone was, what's going on with everyone, except for Crow and Robin, but that's fine, we saw it in the next episode. It showed us what everyone was doing. It set up the volume really well, I feel. I'm okay with it. I think that's good. I'm putting it in solid. I promoted you. 2, Refuge. Okay. So what happens? We see Crow and Robin, and they do their talkie talks, and he does his, oh, my boyfriend died. And she's like, yeah, but you didn't kill him, so. I did, like, punch in the wall, shut up Jacques, and, like, the little fake out where it seemed like she was blaming Crow, but she was actually just yelling at Jacques. Thought it was a nice idea having the 4 of them in that one jail cell, although I feel like that's more of a chibi sketch. Like, I would have enjoyed to see, like, those interactions more, just, like, between the 4 of them instead of just, you know, just Crow and Robin. I don't know why, I just feel like it would have been funny. I enjoyed when that happened, but every scene with them felt like setup, not just setup, it didn't even feel like real setup. It felt like it's super boring on rewatch. When it was happening, I was like, oh, like, I don't know where this is leading, and so it's interesting, and I like the soft dynamic that they have, and, like, kind of supportive back and forth. But now on rewatch, it's like, this plotline didn't go anywhere. Like, they kind of helped in the background with the teams. We didn't see them, like, start it up. They were just kind of in jail. Cinder broke the jail. They went and got their weapons back, and then we see them fighting the Aesops for a second in the background, not even getting to see them planning or interacting with Ruby and Yang. Crow just escaped. Why didn't he go find out if his nieces were okay? This is a whole different conversation. We're talking about Refuge. Refuge, Chapter 2. Pay attention. Oh, my boy's on the ground. Why does he keep getting hurt? Such a fucking lightweight. So what happens after that is it cuts away to Joanna and the Happy Huntresses and Team Joyride, helping people to evacuate. And then they do some cool things with the bikes, and it's, like, kind of nice and like, upbeat kind of pace. And then we get, oh yeah, Oscar gets to have an identity crisis on the bikes when he's talking with Oscar. I did think that was a good scene. That was a good conversation. Even if, in hindsight, it's kind of like we didn't get any new information on the merge aside from the fact that it accelerates with the use of magic this entire volume, despite it seeming to be, like, set up as a forefront thing. So yeah, that's the thing with Refuge, is I would put it higher if it weren't for the fact that the things that it set up didn't go anywhere, because it was such a, like, it was a well done setup episode, but the things that it was setting up didn't go super well. Here, we're gonna look at it, because I have a couple thoughts. We're gonna look at it together, you guys. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, there's a little identity crisis. Yeah, okay, so there's the, there, do that. Joanna is so cool. They use their new tools. There's a lady who's racist, but then Yang, a white, non-faunus human, yells at her once, and then she's like, oh, I guess I should rethink my racial biases. And racism was solved, and everyone cheered. I'm sorry, but the way that they've handled the faunus is so bad in so many ways. This isn't the worst, obviously, but it feels so easy. Like, oh, there's so much racism going on in Atlas, and it's like, yeah, well, the faunus want to help, and they're like, oh, well, okay, then. That's not what would happen. Anyway. Yeah, and then he has this, yeah, which is, I like this moment. This scene was good. No, the thing that I was saying before when I was talking about, like, oh, character setup versus character... Wait, what was I saying? I wasn't talking about character setup. The setup in this, it did set up that the merge was happening, but the scene wasn't only about that. So that's good. There was a lot. This was a character moment for Oscar, where he got to do the "I'm not upset that you left, I'm upset you came back." That was good. That was a realistic reaction that makes sense for his character and makes sense for any person in this situation. And it's cool, and it sets it up, and it's a conversation they needed to happen, and I'm so glad that they didn't gloss over it like they have in the past. So yeah, that was a good scene, and it was a reminder to the audience, like, hey, they are still merging. Their souls are going to become one. So that was cool and good and stuff. It becomes less cool and good and stuff when you know that all they do with the merge is just remind you that they're merging. Like chapter 2, they're like, we are still merging, and then chapter 9, they're like, oh, by the way, I can feel that we're merging, like, but show us. Don't just tell us, show us. What is merging? I mean, yes, they show us in the sense that, like, oh, look, Oscar's standing with his hands on the cane or with his hands behind his back, and it's like, that's cool, but that's nothing new. It's just that he's doing it with better posture now. He's always done those things. Or he at least has. Didn't do this hands on the cane like this until volume 6. But the hands behind his back, he did that, like, from his introduction in volume 5. My name is Oscar Pine. Like that. He stood, like, with his hands behind his back a lot. It's just now that there's the confidence. I'm going on so many tangents, oh no. My point is that they should show, not just in the background things, but show as in, like, showing us I want to know what's going on the inside. Like, not just, oh, we are merging. It's like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, when in volume 7, chapter 9, when he's like, oh, a city in the sky is held to a higher standard. And Ironwood's like, you say that like you were there. Like, that was good. That was a good way of show not tell. just, I wanted more of that. It's Fox Little Prince. I'm not doing reviews of this. I'm not going to go through all of these like this. Yeah, right. And so then it cuts to Penny having identity crisis. That's beat for beat, like, the same identity crisis. Like, the conversation even begins with, the conversations both begin with, it should not be this hard getting people to just cooperate. I do not like it when friends fight. And ends with, but I don't want that. And I wish I was not. But, like, all the middle bits are there too, but I'm forcing myself not to. May my queen. Oh yeah, that moment's good. And then this happens, blah, blah, blah. They fight, and then the Hound happens. Okay. So, for the introduction of the Hound, I thought it was really good. I feel like everyone said it. We all know it. They should have fought the Hound more. They should have tried to save Oscar before he got knocked out and almost carried away. Like, he got carried away with them just staring at it. Like, yes, they tried, but there's 3 of them. He's holding Oscar as a shield, but, like, he doesn't have... Oscar's not a 360 thing going all the way around him. Like, you can attack from different parts of you. It can't hold it in front of all of you. Use teamwork. Or just attack while its back is to you, while it's transforming. It's an unskippable cutscene. That's what it is. But it was still a cool introduction to the Hound. It was scary, it introduced a new concept, and it set a tone for the volume. I feel like 2 and 3 should have been switched, maybe. Not just maybe. Yes, I feel like 2 and 3 should have been switched. Not entirely, like, there's probably little bits and pieces that don't work as well switched, but, you know, I would just rewrite them to be where they should be. But we needed 2 and 3 to... But, like, 3 is like, oh, a continuation of last episode where we were with Team Ribbon. I'm going to call them Ribbon or Rainbow interchangeably. It's fine. Whatever. Shush. Yeah, it would be a continuation of that, and it's more lighthearted and stuff until you see the, oh no, and the hacking thing. Oh, right, because Chapter 2 had a lot of Penny in it and stuff. I would just move that to Chapter 3, or mix it around. Whatever. You get the point. The point is that Chapter 3 was so lighthearted that Chapter 2, it felt anticlimactic after Chapter 3. Well, not even anticlimactic, it wasn't supposed to be a climax at that point. It's just that Chapter 2 was so dark and scary, and oh my god, what's gonna happen to him? Like, that sort of thing. And then Chapter 3 was like, haha, let's go on a little, like stealth mission, let's push all the buttons on the elevator. Like, it was a cute, good episode. But in the context of the volume, it felt jarring. They've always had issues with tone shift. But, oh man, this is going to be a long video. I hope you guys are along for the ride, because this is I'm having fun. But I like hearing myself talk. So, actually, do I? I don't freaking know, but I do it a lot. See, here's the hard thing. Here's why I'm bad at tier list. I can put an episode or a thing somewhere on the list, and then as soon as I want to put another one somewhere, I'm like, yeah, that's where that would go. But then it's like, see, let me just show you by example. My brain was like, I could put it in decent. Like, it was a decent episode, but there's some problems. But then I'm like, wait, am I really putting episode 2 below episode 1? That doesn't make sense. But yeah, here, I'll do it like this. The ones that are closest to this are better. I guess 2 is better than 1. But this whole thing is that I said solid was meant to be a category for, like, it was good, well-contained, solid, did its job. 1 did its job better than 2, I believe, but 2 was a better episode than 1. This is why I'm bad at tier lists. I don't know how to categorize things. It's fine. I'll be able to be more detailed in reviews, hopefully. I'll probably end up moving things around a lot. We'll see. It'll be fun. We'll on this adventure together. So, 3. Decent, but I remember when 3 came out, I was like, ooh, this is my favorite one so far. And it's still a great episode. It's enjoyable and it's cute. But I feel like on rewatch, it's kind of like, like I said, maybe it's just because it came at a bad time in the volume. Like, it came right after such an intense moment, and it was so, like, silly, and, like, the humor was, like, a main aspect of it. And I didn't like the early animation, like the ow, ow, that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Like, that little moment was, like, that could have been funny if it wasn't animated like that, maybe. I don't know. It's decent, but on rewatch. Like, I don't want to rewatch it very much. Good things about the episode, though, because there were a lot. I freaking loved Nora the whole episode. I loved her speech, her little, like, not quite a monologue, but, like, her introspective dialogue when she was talking with Weiss and Blake, where she realizes in the incredible voice acting, and she's just, like, listing the people, and they're like, oh, you didn't mention Ren. She's like, oh, and of course Ren is, I don't know what he is. Every time I think the two of us are making progress, we've been together our whole lives. But I feel like I understand him less now than ever. And I don't know if that's his fault or mine. And Blake says, when you've been at someone's side for so long, eventually they become a part of you. But that's just it. They're only a part of you. Don't forget about the rest. And that sets up Don't Forget About the Rest, which is a nice thing that ties into the rest of the volume. But my favorite part of that scene is Nora's, I don't actually know who I am without Ren. Pretty sad, huh? Like, who says Nora's just a comedic character? I mean, I don't know if there's anyone who says that after volume 7, other than Nora, where she's like, all I do is be ditzy, hit stuff in with a hammer. No, BB girl, you're so good. She's moved up to number 2. She was 3, but Penny. Well, okay, she's number 2 out of people who are alive. I should do a tier list for the caricatures. I'll do that next. We'll see. Maybe I'll even do it the same night when I'm, like, extra drunk, and it'll be fun, and we'll talk about the characters, and it'll be great. Yeah, and rewatch. Because a lot of it... One thing that it did do well, I did also like the fight. I thought the fight choreography was good, interesting, and it did a really good job of, like, showing that they were all actually trying and not just kind of one at a time attacking. The music was great in that scene. And the ending was great with Watson, like, setting up the hacking plotline, which didn't really go anywhere. Well, it depends on... it either didn't go anywhere, or it went somewhere and it led to my least favorite plot point of the entire volume. So you take your pick. But yeah, I'll leave that indecent, but Like, that there's good in it. I really enjoyed some of it. And it's funny. And rewatching it is nice, I guess, sometimes. But it's not one that I, like, go back to a lot or... Like, it's funny. It's a fun, self-contained episode. It's decent. But 4. Oh my god, 4 goes in great. 4 is great. Chapter 4. Hang on. Chapter 4 is Fault. I'm so sorry for clapping in your ears. I hope you're doing okay. So much awesome, epic, good things are 4 in Chapter 4. I can hear how drunk I sound. Chapter 4, it does what it is that there's the crow, there's jail people, jail first. And then it goes to, let me look at the order so I don't have to remember. I do remember, but the saying it out loud is difficult. What accent is this?
Which should pay for better stuff.
Yeah, that's cute. I liked the establishment of some dynamics with them. Yeah, the bike chase, which had the song The Sky is Falling, which is great. I want to hear it so badly. And this was a fun chase scene. I didn't really like the fighting that much on the bikes earlier, but this was an enjoyable, fast-paced scene that I thought was good. This made me frustrated, but I'm not going to get into it because it's not consequential to the actual thing. I'm just frustrated with how Whitley has been treated. Yeah, this scene. This is the scene. That's why that I made that the freaking thumbnail for it. Is because this is... I think there's 2 scenes that I'm like, this is the scene of the episode. But this is probably the one that most people think of. Like, when it came out, it was like, is this the scene of the episode? Or is the one with Salem and Oscar meeting the scene of the episode? But since we saw so much more of Oscar in The Whale... in hindsight, it's like, okay, this is the more unique scene. This is the more defining scene of Chapter 4. Was the fight. I wish it had gone somewhere. I was, like, praising Chapter 9 for, like, their awkward dialogue in The Whale, where it's like, oh, at least you're friends again. Haha, making jokes and being like, lead the way. Like, all that stuff. Which I still think is good, but the fact that they never followed it up is like, oh, that wasn't just like an awkward transition period. They just never talk about it. Ren's just changed his mind, I guess. Even though in Chapter 4 he was making excellent points. The only thing they followed up on with this argument was the least interesting part of the scene, which I wanted to say as usual, but that sounds really mean, so take that part out. Jean. Which I don't mean because there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens to Jean. But, like, in this scene, I was not like, oh, Jean cheated into Beacon. That's the most important takeaway of this scene. But that's the only part that we got closure on. I was interested in Ren and Yang's disagreement. I was interested in the conflicting morals that they both made good points. I was so excited about that. But then they kind of made it like, oh, we all came to the right answer again. Don't worry, guys. We're all on the exact same page because there's only one right way to think. I'm being extra harsh. It's because I'm drunk. I'm doing the floppy hand. This is how you know I'm gay. Pan. Whatever. You know, when you're non-binary and pansexual, you get to be gay every which way. So yeah, 4 goes in great. That is one of the best episodes of RWBY. Alright, I didn't even talk about the scene after that. The scene after that with Salem, it like established her as that was her most intimidating. Maybe the rest of the volume made her a little bit less so, but like not in a way that... There's a lot of stuff to say about Salem and how she was handled, but this scene was great. It established her as a terrifying villain. The way that she grabs his face so forcefully, and then after torturing him with the beam and that horrible scream, she just caresses it. And he has this look of recognition of like where he's like, ugh! And then like looks at her hand, looks up at her and looks her in the eye, and it's just like he recognizes her. Like, ugh! It's just chilling, like just how harsh it was and then how gentle. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It was a good scene. Plus it was cool seeing Oscar impersonate Ozpin. Which is like, at the time we were like, okay, that's, well, I guess not everyone was, but at least I was like, that's clearly Oscar impersonating Ozpin. And being sassy, because he's a sassy boy. But Ozpin just kind of talks like that now. Like that sound that if I heard elsewhere, I might be like, that's Oscar impersonating Ozpin. But no, that's just how Oz talks now. He's just like that, TM. Amity. Amity was such a good episode, you guys. It either go... Does it go above or behind 4? Does it go above or behind 4? Again, there's like two different things to consider. Is like, is it good in of itself and is it good for the volume? This is empty. One sec. Okay, I got another one, so everything's okay. So yeah, Amity made me cry. Okay, if it made me cry, I think it goes ahead of 4. The only reason I considered putting, well, not only, but one of the reasons I considered putting 4 ahead of 5 would be because it did more for the volume. Because Amity, the Coliseum itself, the Amity Arena, didn't do a ton for this volume. It probably did more it arguably did way more for it definitely did way more for the overall plot. Because that message broadcast to the entire world. And I'm really hoping that it caused so much panic and chaos. Because the world's finding out that Salem's alive and then the broadcast going down so no one can talk to each other again. That should lead to panic and chaos and grim. And yeah, Amity did give us like some looks into all these other characters and worlds and places, and it felt like a uniting This Is Remnant. And it had like great stuff with, look, Penny's getting hacked, holy shit. The effects were amazing, the colors were beautiful, and I cried. I did. I still cry. Literally every time I watch it, I cry when Penny says, but Dad, I am trying to. When it's like, I want a chance to watch you live your life. And God, that hits even harder after she's dead. She's dead now. Guys, that's so sad. It looks like I'm sponsoring. I didn't mean to hold up the label. Sponsoring it? I don't know. Let me skip through Amity real quick. The one thing about Amity is that, like, it's very self-contained. It's all, like, one location, pretty much. And so it doesn't feel like it does a ton for the volume, but Penny really was the central character of the volume. She wasn't necessarily the protagonist of the volume. In this episode, she was clearly the protagonist. But she wasn't the protagonist of the volume. The person acting as the protagonist this volume, at least through chapter 11, was Oscar. He kind of got dropped the last few episodes. But he was the protagonist of the volume. Penny was the central character of the volume. And so this did a lot for her. And this broadcast was a big deal, even if it didn't have anything happen this volume related to it necessarily. It had a lot that it will affect later on. So yeah, I'll put it above 4. 6, Midnight. Ooh, this one's good. This one has like 3 main sections. Cinder's backstory, Oscar and Oz and Hazel, and the whale landing. Which includes, like, you know, meeting up with the Aesops and, like, are you kidding? There are people in danger! Which was good. I liked Sean in that scene. Good job, Sean. Also, Midnight was beautiful. Like, the setting was amazing. It gave us such a good song. I'm so excited to hear the rest of The Truth. The song is called The Truth. The one where it's like, clean the linens, sweep the floors. Shut your mouth and do your chores. Scrub the dishes in the sink. No one said that you should think. I'm drunk. Please ignore my singing, and I do not know what the words are. That's probably not true. I probably do if I... Yeah, I know the words. I just got distracted. Also, you're cute. Are you single? Yes, I get all the criticism of this episode of like, oh, it was just a copy-paste of Cinderella, but what if Cinderella was trained to be a warrior and then killed her family? I get, and there was no prince. I get that it was similar, but the episode was effective. It was beautiful. The setting was amazing. The scenery, it's not scenery, but like the locations, like the glass unicorn was really pretty. The voice work was really good. Like the when Cinder was choking Madame and she was like, here, like where is it? God, that song too. I really liked the Okay Goodnight song. But yeah, where she's choking Madame and she's like, you're right. Without you, I am nothing. But because of you, I am everything. Like that is so good. It was so good. I can't do it. Ignore me. I wasn't trying to imitate her. I was just saying the lines, but like, it was well delivered. Good job, Jessica Negri. I'm not trying to do a review of every episode. I'll do reviews later. But it did set up some good stuff with Emerald. It set up some good stuff with Hazel. It showed us a lot that had to do with Oscar and Oz and how they're more similar and how Oz is like kind of joining Oscar where he is and all that jazz. I'm not going to get into a tangent. So, I think I'm going to put it... It either goes in great or solid. It's somewhere between 2 and 4. It's a decent amount above 2, I think, actually. It's one of those episodes that, like, when I think about, I'm just like, all right, Cinder backstory, then they talk in the whale, and then Monster Lands, and Monster Landing is really cool. But I never remember how cool the first parts are. I mean, like, I analyzed the heck out of every scene Oscar and Osmond are in, obviously. But I just forget, like, how good of an episode it was, and it did make me cry, so maybe it should go in great. It's between 2 and 4. You know what? It is better than 1 and 2. I'll put it in great for now. I might change it. I might move a lot of stuff down later. We'll see. Okay. War. Number 7. What is it good for? So much. I loved 7. I know a lot of people don't. I don't know. I've seen a lot of mixed things about 7. Like, from other RWBY YouTubers, I've heard people be like, yeah, War was a really good episode. But then when I posted this tier listy thing on Tumblr, a lot of people put War lower and was like, which one was War again? Which makes me feel like, oh, oof, maybe I picked a bad thumbnail for it. But honestly, War was kind of like showing us bits and pieces of all over the place. And so it's kind of like, how do I unify it? So I was just showing, Salem conducting the war so that you remember that that's what happened that episode. Which is when Emerald started to decide. The thing about War that I really like, don't take that out of context, the episode, is that it set up so many interesting different things. It showed us a little bit of everything with enough hype to make us excited for each individual plot line. I'm not thinking about the follow-through. I'm thinking about episode 7 in particular. I feel like it would have been better if the hiatus, I know it wasn't planned, but I feel like it would be better if the hiatus was either after chapter 6 or after chapter 8. If it had been after chapter 6, it would be like, oh, look, the whale just landed, Salem's here, oh no, kind of thing. If it was chapter 8, it would be like, oh wow, okay, that's a nice closure of that arc, the Hound is dead. And like, we don't know what's going to happen next, and then that would mean chapter 9 would be the first one after the hiatus, which would be like, holy shit, that's a big episode to come from for the hiatus. Which could have been cool. I don't know. But the fact that 7 was the one that left us off on the hiatus made a lot of people frustrated with how slow the plotline was with going with Team Ribbon. And like, I get it, but I didn't feel that. When I first watched it, I was like, oh man, this might be my new favorite episode of the volume. And before, when I made this tier list a couple times, I think I put it in the best of the best category. Not the best of the best, but it was in the category. It was in the love tier list. But I feel like now it might belong in great. Not that I'm like demoting it in the sense of like, oh, it's a worse episode now, but more in the sense of I've learned to just not just to appreciate, but like how much I actually appreciated other episodes as well. But I really liked the episode War. I think it did a good job. It did what it needed to do. It established a lot of things. It did exactly what I wanted when I was like, Oscar, just tell Hazel the password and then he'll... And he did it, and I was so proud of him, and there was so much to unpack there. And it was like Oscar got Hazel to hesitate, and then Emerald was listening, so that's Emerald as well. And she told Mercury, and then they said it in front of Tyrion, and Tyrion confirmed it, and then they went to Vacuum, and Emerald's alone, and like just all of this cool stuff that was set up. And like, yeah, they're just like drinking tea in a mansion, but it was clearly a setup. And also May was in that episode, and she had this amazing little monologue. I voted it pretty high in the monologues in the Oscars. I don't remember if it was my top one. It might have been. It was either her or Watts. I don't remember which. But like to the marigolds, that meant I wasn't their son anymore. And I made sure that everyone knew that I wasn't their daughter. Like, it was so good. Caden Jensen, I love you. As a non-binary person, trans representation is so good. So yeah, I want to put it in great, but I don't know where. Above 6. Did I like it? I remember enjoying it more than 4, but was it better than 4? I remember enjoying it. Should I have? Is it here? I remember when watching it, I was like, oh, this is my new favorite. But like on rewatch, I remember how good Amity was standalone. But I guess War was also really good in the context of the entire volume. So maybe that pushes it above there. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that one more. But let's move on. Why is this here? Was this here the whole time? I told it to go shush. I told it to go invisible. Alright, so chapter 8. Dark. What happened? It started out with Cinder going kaboom with the jails, and then the birds were there. It was Crow and Robin are the birds, the jailbirds. So we got a jailbird's jailbreak. And then it went to Schnee Manor, and stuff happened at Schnee Manor with the Hound. What happened to Schnee Manor with the Hound? Yeah, okay, Nora woke up. That was the next thing that happened. So Nora woke up. They did this, which I remember, I was interested in at the time, but it was a lot of just like, in hindsight, it was just a lot of stating what their plans are, which is fine, but it's kind of more on rewatch. This scene I remember enjoying at the time with Ruby and Blake, but then someone pointed out that it sounds like a conversation between two people who haven't really talked much. And it's like, yeah, they kind of haven't talked much. And so this scene is very much Blake being like, this is how I feel. I've never expressed it to you, but we're still supposed to be friends. I've always felt this way. And, kind of like, you're good, you're great, you're the best. Which isn't necessarily bad. It's just I would have liked to see Ruby being the things that people, like Blake and Yang, kept telling her that she was. Like, I want to see her do the things that are cool. Not just have people tell them, hey, you're cool. Or tell her that she's cool. But yeah, the main reason that I'm frustrated with this episode, and where I've put it before, was in bad. And right now I'm putting it there. I'm going to keep talking. I might change it. But at the moment I'm putting it in bad. Because again, bad doesn't mean that I'm like, this is a terrible episode. But bad as in, I didn't enjoy it. I liked this scene at the moment because I was like, oh, foreshadowing and stuff and that. But it felt really sudden. Just like, oh, it's only a part of you. It's like, oh, okay, calm down. It was kind of very statey. Like, you could tell... Now, I'm not gonna get into the writers of each episode. I'm not gonna get whatever. But there's a thing that Miles tends to do a lot, which is like just stating a thing that's happened like restating something and making it be like, oh look, that's meaningful. Like kind of just having the characters say how they feel, which is fine. But like this, like it's only a part of you. Don't forget about the rest. It's like I remember when I was watching this, I was worried that that was the end of Nora's arc for the volume, because that's what they do. That's how they've done things. Like that's how quick and like glossed over arcs have been with other characters in the past. So I'm glad to see that this wasn't the end of this for Nora. We didn't get anything really for it in volume 8, but that was good because like they wrapped it up in a way that felt natural in chapter 11 that progressed it into the next volume or next volume after next, depending on what happens in volume 9. I'm not getting into that. Oh my god. But the point that I was frustrated with the most is this was the Schnee episode. This was the episode of Schnees. And it fell flat for me in so many different ways. Willow's portrayal of her alcoholism, like, I am above drinking in the dark. It's like, what does that mean? What alcoholic's above drinking in the dark? What is it about darkness that changes the morality of drink? Like, what? I don't know. It was weird to me. And then it was just kind of sudden, and then Weiss is here with her like, I didn't forget you. It's like the point wasn't, don't forget about your brother. Meaning, don't let him die. The point was, don't forget about your brother, as in, he's in the same position you were. He's a victim just as much as you were. But you had friends and you went off and you learned about the world. He hasn't had that chance yet. Don't forget about him. He's hurting. He's your brother. But this was the end of that. It was just kind of like, oh, he did a nice thing, so he's redeemed. He didn't need to be redeemed. He didn't do anything wrong. So that's part of why this episode frustrates me. The other reason is that the Hound looked like it was going to bring Ruby to the whale. Then it looked like it was going to bring Penny to the whale. And instead it did neither. And it just died. And at the time I was defending it. I was like, well, I know that it seemed like that was a huge setup and everyone was complaining like, oh, it's just like the Hound just died to do nothing. And I was like, well, maybe usually when that happens in stories, that means that it's going to return in a bigger way. Like maybe there's like an even scarier Hound, or we're going to get something else to do with like a person that they know, or like some other way of it tying in, but it didn't. It was just, oh, that's the end of it. I feel like that's a problem with chapter 2 specifically, is it set up a lot of things that felt like it was going to be important. But like, as a writer, you need to realize that if you establish something in the first like 2 chapters of the volume, your people are going to expect that that's going to be a big part of the volume. This was a good moment. The reveal was nice and good, but it just being like a person, like kind of after the hiatus, and I'm trying to take it out of the context of the hiatus, but like either way, I'm putting it in bad. I was frustrated with it. It failed on several things that I was hoping for. Maybe I'd put it in decent, but no, I'm still mad enough about the Schnee stuff that I'm putting it there. Why didn't Weiss chase after the thing? Why did she just let it run away and then just stand there and be like, where is it? And Willow's like, oh, it's here. Like, fight it. Just kill it. And then Blake with her whole thing with Ruby where she's like, I've got her. I can take care of Ruby because her aura is shattered and she's knocked out. And then she doesn't. She can't. She doesn't even get, like, hit by the sentinel, like the alpha sentinel. Like, she can't even land a hit on it. And then it breaks her aura. And I'm like, okay, now that the aura's broken, maybe it would make sense for you to start complaining. But no. She didn't. She was already, like, complaining is a mean word. I shouldn't have said that. That's not what I meant. What was I saying? Like, I feel like after her aura shattered, then she could have done the whole, like, Ruby, we need you, please get up type thing. But she just started kind of doing it immediately. It's like, your aura's not broken, you're doing fine, you fought a Grim before. Alright, next. 9. Best of the best. It's going in the best of the best category. It's not the only one that goes up there, but it's best of the best. That episode's so good. I don't know which one of it's better. I don't know which one's the best episode. We'll figure that out together. That kind of rhymed. Kind of had bars. That was pretty cool. Something about Bruno Mars. Fucking shut up. But yeah, Witch. Why did I click on it? I don't need to I know what happens in Witch. I know how this episode goes, because it's good and cool and good, and it's so good. Have I mentioned that it's good? So much of this episode I loved so much. And the reason that, like, when I was watching it, like, in my reactions and stuff, I was like, this might be my favorite episode of the volume, depending on what the next episode is. And then 10 happened, and that one was also super freaking good. And I was like, okay, that one's my favorite. But then in hindsight, I'm like, maybe 10 and 9 are both my favorite? I don't know, we're going to get to 10 in a second. But 9 was so good. It was like 10 and 9 were both so good for different reasons. They were. I'm gonna put it just put it here. Well, no. I'm talking about 9 first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So 9. I'm drunk. I'm at the point. I'm at that point. 9. It had them go in. I'm okay that it skipped the fighting the Grimm on the way in there. No, I'm getting into review territory. I shouldn't go full step on step. But the point is that it's Team Joyride trying to rescue Oscar. Then there's some Aesop stuff that sets some stuff up with Winter, which I really wish that Winter had to tell. It's like, are you gonna tell her what you did to her friends? I wanted Winter to have to tell Weiss what happened before knowing that they were okay. There's a lot that I wanted. We're not getting into that right now. But what we are getting into is that 9 was good. It had that. It had the scene with Oscar and Osmond talking, which, even outside of me being an Oscar stan, that was one of my favorite episodes, or one of my favorite scenes of the entire volume. Potentially even of RWBY. It's such a simple scene, but it does so much to establish the characters individually, their relationship, how far they've come, what they're feeling, and it foreshadows the falling through the world that happens later. It does give some character depth, because we have, no information, basically. Oh, I burped when I said that. That was fun. Aw, I wish I could burp on command. That'd be fun. But we had basically no information on Oscar before Oz joined him, other than farm and books. But this gave us character depth. It showed us that he loved fairy tales and he analyzed them and he looked it was just good. I'm reviewing the episode again. But then it was really cool. The Hazel stuff paid off well. I feel like it could have been done a little bit better, but it made sense. I've seen people be like, oh, the turn was way too fast. It's like, okay, but he just found out that what he's doing is going to cause the death of everyone. I would turn pretty freaking fast too. But yeah, and then Salem's attack and the magic and the fight that happened and the big cliffhanger. It was climactic, it was good, the episode was beautiful, the color was great, the music. Episode. I meant to say incredible episode. Whatever. Let's go to chapter 10. And again, I'm putting it up here. Which one's better? Is 9 or 10 better? Which one's better, you guys? Okay, let me just talk about chapter 10 and then I'll determine which one's better. It's chapter 10, Ultimatum, one of the best episodes of RWBY. Just the fact that I said that right now and I didn't say it for 9, maybe 10 goes above 9. Maybe 9 is my favorite, but 10 is the best. I don't know. Let's figure this out. I love having armpit hair. It feels like an act of rebelling and just for letting my body exist the way that it is. Wow. Being AFAB sucks. Anyway, Ultimatum. It has the best, I should just say my favorite. My favorite moment, when someone gave me a Tumblr ask that was like, what's your favorite moment of RWBY? And I realized it's the fucking blast of the whale. The magical blast. Just that whole sequence when it explodes. Here, look at it. Watch it explodes.
We do have Jacques Schnee in custody.
I don't give a damn about Jacques Schnee. Then why did you kill him? Why did you bother? It took more time to... Yeah. This moment.
What's the status, Mark?
Absolutely breathtaking. That moment is so good. The music, the animation, the lighting, and then the disintegrating of the whale, just showing you, and like the haze that covers the entirety of Atlas, and it shows you this is the third and final act of the volume. It shows that this is the transition. It follows up well on the cliffhanger, giving you like a moment of, oh, what's happening? And then poof, it happens. It doesn't waste any time. But then it keeps this level of tension throughout the episode. It has this incredible confrontation between Cinder and Watts, which is really cool to see two villains fighting against each other, even though they both know that their task is the same and they have the same master. It's just really cool. He listed a bunch of things that were important and good and that we've all known. We got to see Cinder cry, which I thought was pretty cool. Conversation in the tunnels is so good. Such an underrated scene. It established so much about each individual character. They got to have disagreements. And they had that moment of, like, you don't have to forgive, but maybe give a second chance. You don't have to forgive someone. You don't owe anyone your forgiveness. That is your choice and your choice alone. But giving someone a second chance to prove themselves better, to do better, to be better forward than they were before, that's something powerful, and that's something that they really need to do. That's a risk that they need to take right now. And it's really cool seeing Oscar advocate for that, especially because we've seen that. I'm not going to get into a whole discussion of it, but just Oscar in this whole scene was incredible. Watching them all argue was incredible. Look at this little smile when he finally, like, they're just like, what? Oz is back, and Oscar's like, okay, I have a list. Listen, he saved my life. He made the cane. He stored shit up in the cane. Then he let me use the cane, and he did this. He took the torch. Like, he just starts listing, like, give him a chance, y'all. It's just nice. It's just nice to see it. He stands up for Emerald, too. It's just very consistent characterization. Then we get this scene, which in the moment I enjoyed when you ignore, like, if I was an Ironwood stan, I feel like I would feel differently about this scene. I enjoyed him in Volume 7, but I never connected with him as like a favorite kind of thing, but from a writing standpoint, his character was written really well. And then Volume 8 happened, and it kind of, like, him getting to this point isn't the problem, but it's the execution of getting him to this point maybe could have been done better. The thing that I don't like is the evil laughter, like the very comical part of it. Like, it needs to, or not needs, but I would have preferred it if it was a little bit more nuanced than, yes, I am villain now. Mwahaha, they're trying to save Mantle. Hee, I'm so silly that I didn't think about murder before. Like, a little bit much. Like, I'm fine with the ultimatum that happens at the end, and I think the lighting was amazing and everything about it was just so cool. And the fact that they had, like, this plan of, like, the ships and then they get knocked down and stuff, like, oof, scary. And then the reuniting scene, though, I felt weird about. I realize I'm, like, talking. I liked that. I liked the bees because, like, I'm gay. There's a lot of weird. I'm not going to talk about the bees right now, but it was a nice moment. It was sweet. I'm not going to talk about kiss or no kiss controversy. Shush up. But is Ultimatum better than 9, or is 9... Which is better, Ultimatum or Witch? They're both so good for such different reasons, because Witch was such a nice contained, like, the setting is Monstra. Here's what's happening. Everything that's been going on in setup is happening now. And it happens, and it's good, and that setup, that has payoff. And then 10 is the aftermath of that and the continuation of it into the next act of and final act of the volume, and it was really good, and the mood of it all was so compelling, and the animation was so good. I did get tonal whiplash from the reunion. If you've seen my reaction, I was like, wait, is this happening? Is this a dream? Maybe if they had, like, spoken before the music started or whatever. I don't know. Well, I'm filming a thing.
What you filming?
I'm making a tier list of the episodes. Sorry,
I'm just looking at your thing.
You're good.
Look,
Thanks.
your hair's not in braids though.
Huh?
There's a picture.
Oh, I know. I'm aware it fell out.
Okay. Just making sure
It was in there.
It was there once.
Once upon a time, I had hair where it belonged. I'm also drinking alcohol.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah. My roommate came in to make food because she is a human who eats food for nourishment. So I don't remember what I was saying, if I was saying anything in the middle of a thought of something, I don't know. Alright, this scene gave me some emotional whiplash, tonal whiplash. But it was sweet and I enjoyed it, and then this moment did a good job of setting up the next thing and being like, oh, Ironwood is the main villain now. Which kind of fell flat real fast, but in this episode it was good. So, I feel like chapter 9 could have come later in the volume so that it would feel more I don't know which one's better, but I'm leaving it like this for now. 9 was more cohesive. But 10 was more like amazing on a technical level. Like that explosion, that's what I was saying, is one of my favorite moments of the volume was that explosion. Is so well done in so many ways. But that's not the entire episode, you know? That's one moment of the episode that I'm like, this might be my favorite episode or moment of RWBY. Or at least at the moment that I can think of. So I don't know, maybe 9 and 10 are tied, but in different ways. But yeah, like that's the thing, is that 9 is so good and it's so cohesive, as like, this is the location, this is what's happening. Whereas 10 is like, here's where everyone is, and such a connecting thing of like, wow, this is so big, but here's all the plot lines, and everything is connected by seeing this giant flash. So that's cool. Okay. Risk. Chapter 11. Risk. This is the one that I made the mixed bag tier for. I don't know if it's where it's gonna go now. Yeah, probably is. Let's put it there for now, right now. Mixed bag. Remember what I said about mixed bag earlier? Is that it isn't necessarily like lower than the ones above it, nor is it necessarily higher than the ones below it. Because chapter 11 I did like more than 1 and 2. Probably more than 6. I don't know where it would rank. I'll have to think about that later. But the reason I put it in mixed bag is because there's some stuff I really liked and some stuff I really didn't like. Stuff I really liked, especially, was the Nora and Ren scene. The one that I got screenshotted. Because I really wanted Nora to be the one to be all like, I need to take time for myself. And I'm like, that's so good and pure and good, and that's what I wanted, and it happened. And it was good. It was an emotional episode. It did what it needed to do. Maybe I should put it in solid for that. I don't know. It did its job. The frustrating parts of it that drag it down for me are the way that Ozpin and Emerald's redemptions TM were handled. In both situations, I liked what they did. I liked Ozpin's apology. I liked Oscar's lead up to it. I liked Emerald trying to like stand up for them. I didn't like the reactions. In both cases, the reactions were the problem. With Emerald, it was like they all hated her so much and they were so mean to her even earlier in the episode. Shut up. Okay, why don't you just leave? And Oscar was the only one standing up for her, like, hey, can we give each other a chance? Maybe let's not fight each other and do Salem's job for her. Why is it so hard getting people to cooperate? Why is it my job? I'm 10. Just kidding, he's 15, but shut up. What was I saying? Someone remind me. No one's here. I remember the thing. I'm going to make a whole video about chapter 11 because it felt specifically like a series of scenes in a theatrical review. Like if someone had asked a group of students, like high schoolers, if their assignment was write a scene about risks and then perform it, that's what this episode would be. Their theme was risk. And then they all had to write and perform a scene. And I would give them varying grades. Ren and Nora, they got an A. Good job. Jean in the scene was weird. You were lucky you had good team partners in your project because they pulled it up for you. And Yang, you're lucky that RWBY was in this scene because she did all the work. There's a lot about the scene that I liked and a lot about it that I didn't like, and most of the stuff that I liked was because of RWBY, and most of the stuff I didn't like was because of Yang. All of it's because of the writers, good and bad. So this isn't me attacking the characters themselves, it's me saying what I liked and didn't like that happened to apply or be done through the characters. Right, then this moment was really good with Penny's kill me. Like, holy shit, that was so cool. And intense. And foreshadowy. This I hated. I hated it! And I've already ranted about it in Probably, I think it was in the episode where I ranted about Penny, which I was like, oh, I feel bad about this, but then Penny died at the end, so it's like, I don't feel bad about it. I was right and I should say it. I don't wish that she had stayed dead. Like, I did like her in Volume 7 and 8, so I take back that part of my initial gut reaction to Chapter 12. We're talking about 11 right now, though. I hated this. I hated so much about that's who you are, our friend, not a machine. Silly. If you were a machine, we couldn't love you. You're not just some metal robot, some dirty, gross, scummy trans robot. Like, sorry, just throwing that in there because Penny is incredibly transcoded and incredibly neurodivergent coded. We're not going to get into all that again. But it's very much like, you're not some dirty, gross machine. You're a human, good person, our friend. She is a machine. She is. And she's a human. She is. She wasn't turned into a real girl. She always was a real girl. And she's made of metal. That was the whole point of, you think just because you got nuts and bolts makes you any, and instead of squishy guts makes you any less real than me? Like, that's the whole point of that. Is this your body isn't like a containment or confinement. You are you because you are you. And that was such a good, powerful message. And then they freaking ruined it with Chapter 12. We're talking about Chapter 11. We're talking about Chapter 11. This was nice too. The little like holding up hand thing was good. I'm getting into like review territory. But like them all accepting Osmond was the other thing that makes this a mixed bag. Because I liked Osmond's apology. I liked the moment. I enjoyed it at the time. But they accepted it way too easily. Like, if they had still had Yang be mad at him, but like willing to listen and accept it and like, fine, I'll give you another chance, but like not fully okay with it, that would have been great. If they would have had RWBY apologize, or some of them, like someone should have apologized. I feel like Blake is the most likely to have apologized and like we understand kind of thing. Like, she did say we understand, but it was all one thing. Yang, Blake, and Weiss all had one thought, one line of thought, that the writers were just like, this is a thing we want them to think. Let's just chop it up and randomly assign who gets to say what. Like, let them have individual thoughts, not all just finishing one sentence of each other's. Like, you didn't discuss this beforehand. You don't have, like, one cohesive hive mind thought. So why are you all finishing each other's thoughts as if you all have the exact same one thought? And RWBY could have apologized because it was her decision to lie to Ironwood. She did literally the exact same thing that Osmond did. Yes, the situations were different, but the morals were the same. She did the same thing. There could have been an apology or an acceptance of that fact, but instead the scene was framed as, out of the goodness of our kind protagonist hearts, we'll give you a second chance, you horrible, dirty scumbag. We accept you. Like, obviously they didn't frame him as a horrible, dirty scumbag, but like that's how they framed him, like that's how they acted towards him for like a real long time. Which would have been fine if they hadn't shown multiple instances of them disliking Osmond. Like, but they're just like, does that mean he's been watching us this whole time? And then RWBY with like, I can't tell if what's best is what's right, or if I'm no different from Oz. Like, it was like everyone was talking like, oh, this is so nuanced or whatever, and then people were like, oh, they're gonna get to it. They know how nuanced it is. It was intended. They're gonna get to it. They're gonna have the team apologies. They're gonna have them understand the confusion. They're gonna understand the hypocrisy. They're gonna blah, 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 blah. And then this episode did none of it. It took away any nuance to Yang and Ren's argument. It took away any nuance to the Osmond situation, to the Emerald situation. It just tried to make all the characters on the same page, but by doing so, it made it be like, this is the right answer, and we're all at it now. We're all agreement again. Wow, I'm acting really salty. I'm actually not this angry, it's just I'm drunk and so things feel highlighted. Speaking of salty, let's move on and put 12 exactly where it fucking belongs. Worst episode of the volume. Worst episode of the volume. They sound so mean. I don't care. I'm gonna say something right now. Cover your ears if you are a child. Actually, who knows? Fucking language is fucking made up. Fuck. So what I'm gonna say is, just to fucking preface, fuck chapter 12. Fuck it. I did I'm so mad. I enjoyed it when I watched it, like parts of it. Parts of it were exciting, parts of it were hype. It was bad. It was bad for so many reasons. It ruined the volume. Chapter 12 is the point that ruined the volume. I stand by that. I'll get into reviews probably about it, but like everything felt like it was building up. This volume was going so well with the setup. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And then chapter 11 was like, here's the calm before the storm. Let's give you a moment to breathe before the insanity that we've all been building up to hits. And then chapter 12 is just, everything's going our way. Everything's fine. We gave Penny a human, cis-abled body. Blech! And now everything's fine. We explained to you how the staff works in the same episode that we jump ahead of our understanding of it and our planning. Just to be like, here, let's use the staff and also do the loopholes at the same time, which made everyone confused and have to be like, wait, so what happened with Penny? What was the deal with the body? And then also ruining Penny's entire arc, not just arc, but her whole purpose in the series to be a subversion of Pinocchio, whereas you were already a real girl the whole time. And we gave her a fucking human-ass body. I'm so mad, but it's not even that. That's the part that makes me, well, it is the part that makes me maddest, but it's not just that makes that episode bad. It, like, shows them attacking, then cuts back to them planning. If you want to cut back to it planning a thing we haven't already seen. Don't cut back to make us listen to them saying, that's actually a risk we haven't considered. Again, we get it. You never considered using the staff for some fucking reason, despite learning about it in Volume 7, Chapter 7. You've never considered the possibility of using it? I'm being extra salty when I'm drunk. Again, this was my favorite volume. I really liked this volume, but there's a lot that I disliked, and it's Chapter 12! Not exclusively Chapter 12, but I hated Chapter 12! I'm sorry. The animators did a great job. The music, a lot of the music was great. Ambrosius' voice actor was incredible. His introduction was really cool. There was a lot to love about Chapter 12. But there was more to hate. I sound like I'm being rude, like RWDE, like the rude tubers or whatever, but I'm just critiquing the media that I take in. The message that this episode sent was bad. The idea of it was bad. The execution was bad. The pacing was horrible. The fight was short-lived. And also really weird that Ironwood just started fighting Oscar, not even having like a surprise, like, oh god, you're alive. Like, not even a second of that. No confrontation. It's just... They just fought him for a couple seconds and then put him in jail. And the whole thing was like, ooh, Emerald, we can really use someone like you. I have an idea for that. Like all this sort of like, what can Emerald do? I've been working on my semblance. And everyone was just like, okay, so Emerald's going to pretend to be Penny, then what? But then it turned out the only thing that happened was Emerald pretends to be Penny. That's the twist. It's like, okay, we knew that was going to happen. Like, we already knew Emerald was going to do something like that. Like, she was going to make a fake Penny. Either it was going to be Ruby or it was going to be her. It's just like, oh, it was her right at the start of the episode. That twist is revealed and then she kicks him. If you want to do a thing where you show the plan happening and then cut back to them establishing the plan, make the thing happening feel like a twist and not just, okay, we already expected this to happen. Okay, we're cutting back to them explaining what we already expected to happen. I don't know. Just from a writing standpoint, that episode was done real bad. I've only got 2 more, you guys. We're going to do so good with this. We're going to go so well. 12 fucking sucked. There's something so freeing about getting to say what I feel is on my heart without having to be like, well, I feel like this. It's like, no, I'm drunk. I'm allowed to say what I truly feel. What I truly feel is fuck Chapter 12. I hate it. I hate it for so many reasons. Both moral reasons, like in the sense of what it said and the messages that it sent, which were shitty. And in the sense of it was a bad episode. Like I said, it was exciting. It wasn't the most boring. I think 8 goes in the most boring category. Well, that's not true. 1 might be considered boring on rewatch or whatever. But like at least 12 was exciting. But what it did for the volume is it tanked it. The thing is with volume 6, I was like, whoa, this is my favorite volume for the first 6 chapters. And then chapter 7 happened and it started to go downhill. Like, there were good moments in volume 6. There were a lot of good moments in volume 6. But the first half, like, when I talk before volume 8, when I talked about, like, what my favorite volume is, I'd be like, does the first half of volume 6 count? Can I take the first half of volume 6 and say that's my favorite volume? Or the second half of volume 3 and say that's my favorite volume? But at least with volume 8, it took until chapter 12 to start going downhill instead of chapter 7. We got a lot farther. So that's something. And, like, it was, I'm not going to get into which volumes were best, because, you know, it's my favorite. Volume 3 is my favorite ending, obviously, but I feel like a lot of times when we talk about volume 3, we're, like, just thinking about the ending and what a big twist it was at the time. And, like, it's really good and powerful, and it was a great volume and stuff, and that's still my favorite ending to a volume. But, like, as a volume cohesively, I feel like people are underrating volume 8 a lot. I feel like people are taking it by how rushed the last few episodes felt, and making it seem like the end of the volume is the main thing that matters of a volume. And yeah, the way the volume ends is pretty freaking important. But just because a volume ends one way doesn't mean that the rest of the volume wasn't better or wasn't worse, you know? I should rewatch the early volumes more. Maybe I'll do that tonight as a treat. So, as I told you, I'm a lightweight. These are only 8%, so why am I like this? I guess this is down to here. I only have 2, so it's gonna be done soon. It's gotta be done soon. But there's only 2 left, so we can do this, you guys. I believe in us. Armpit hair, cause we really do care. I got like hair too, are you proud of me? You got sex hair, and you got it from me, baby. Sex hair. That's from Parks and Recreation. Chapter 13, worthy. You have to be worthy. Worthy is an interesting case because it's an interesting case. It was a really good episode. I enjoyed it for a lot of the things that it was. I feel like the main thing that hurt the episode wasn't even in the episode. It was in, guess, chapter fucking 12. The thing that tanked chapter 13 for me was chapter 12. Already just the setup of chapter 12 was like, okay, we're suddenly in a different entire setting with a whole different primary villain and a whole different, like, it was just like such a jarring shift into like, oh, okay, we're clearly not going to get payoff for all the things that were set up. We're just going into a completely different plot line now. Fine. And so that kind of lowered my excitement for 13. But on rewatch, it's like, okay, 13's fine. It's good. The problem is the setup getting there. And I shouldn't blame chapter 13 for things that chapter 12 did. Because chapter 12 affected everything negatively. The thing about chapter 12 that ruined chapter 13 for me, or not ruined, but took away the most, was why the fuck ever, whoever the fuck's decision it was, to have Ambrosius say, oh, unless clarification, do not fall. I don't know if RWBY knows, the writers know how, like, they have to know what a big theorist following they have, right? Like, they have to know, like, the RWBY community theorizes about fucking everything. And so when he said, do not fall, literally every theory, every video was like, okay, so they're gonna fall. What does falling mean? Falling into Wonderland. They made the theory of the Wonderland arc. People figured out what the finale was going to be because Ambrosius said do not fall. He did not need to clarify that, because otherwise we would have just thought falling meant death, and so Yang falling would have felt like anything. But to me, if you've seen my reaction in that moment, instead of like, oh god, Yang's falling, it was, okay, so Yang's the one who falls. Who's next? Like I already was expecting all of Team RWBY to fall because he said, do not fall, and then we see them falling in the intro. If we just took out those 3 words, if we just took out Ambrosius's line about do not fall, chapter 13 would be way better. And I think I came to that conclusion prior to, but feel it even stronger now that I have watched I think it was Flaming Shark's video reaction of chapter 13, because he took it as death. He took it as Yang dying. And watching that episode as if I had believed Yang was dead makes it so much better. Like, holy shit, if they had killed Yang there, that might be one of the best episodes of RWBY. Not that I want Yang to die, but just like in the sense of like, it would have been good. Not for her to be dead for the rest of the series, because obviously they're not going to. I know that they've said that Team RWBY is going to live. But it would have felt like something. Instead of just like, alright, she's falling, who next? But the rest of RWBY, with the Cinder Watts Neo stuff, I'm frustrated that Jin was used on such a lame question. I feel like they could have used that as a way of showing us the team's plans, instead of just showing us the same part of the team's plans that we've already seen, or like inconsequential bits with just, like, it could have been Lost Fable style, where we have the team talking about their plans and ideas, like if this had happened earlier. And we see that for the first time through the eyes of Cinder Watts and Neo watching it. And so we're like watching them have these great plans and ideas while we watch the villains seeing it. Like this intense, like looming force of, you guys think everything's going so well, but it's not. I don't know what's gonna happen. Instead of just, wow, everything's going really well. That's lame. And then, oh, I guess it's not because Cinder's there. I don't know. We can't just wave it like a magic wand and make our problems go away. But then you literally do. The problem is just, oh, Cinder was there, but it's like, that's a new problem. You did wave the wand and make all your existing problems go away. Like, fucking, chapter 12 makes me angry. 13 was good. I shouldn't judge it based on my frustrations with chapter 12 that tanked chapter 13 for me. Chapter 12 tanked the rest of the volume for me. It tainted it. It made it like, okay, I guess this is the shift, I guess this is where we're going now, but I didn't feel like I was on board for that, because I wanted everything else to be resolved, and it just wasn't. It never really was. Most of the things I was excited to see resolved were not. And that's okay, some of it is going to carry on to the next couple volumes, I assume. We'll have to see, but 13 belongs in the great category. The question is where? Goes above 6, maybe? Yeah, it goes above 6. I really loved, one of my favorite moments in all of RWBY history was the Cinder Watts and Neo walking up with the music building, and then the little leitmotif of Cinders with the flame dancing in her hand before the music cuts out and all the people, like after they panic, it's just silence and a ringing note left of the leitmotif as they all lie dead in a flame at their desks. And then, like, you just jumps to, like that kind of, like, oh, shit, that just happened. And then, like, Neo whacks, and you deserve this, Arthur. Like, that was so well done. That whole scene was so good. I think it goes above 4. I don't think it goes above 5 or 7. I don't know. I've had 7 in the best of the best before. Like, before, this is where I put 7. But I feel like Amity is better. Or at least it had more of an emotional impact on me. But 7 was better for the actual, like, volume, so individual. I don't know. Guys, things are hard. Decisions are hard. I'm bad at tier lists. Because, like, before, I think 1, 2, and 3 were all indecent, but now I'm feeling a little nicer. Final episode. The finale. Chapter 14. Alright, last. Chapter 14. The finale. That's Winter. She looks so good. I'm gay. Guys, Winter's a lesbian. I don't know who you are or what you could argue for, or what your walks of life could be, but Winter's a lesbian. You're wrong if you disagree. That rhymed. Okay, I'm drunk. That's not related to the chapter. Winter's lesbianism has been a thing. Don't at me. This is not a serious, this has to be canon thing. But she has so much lesbian energy. I dropped a chip, you guys. This is a tragic day. I missed the trash can. I'll get it later. Hey, Jimbo, you want to be in the video? He doesn't want to be in the video, you guys. He meowed. Meowing is what cats do. Chapter 14. So, I know people have a lot of mixed feelings about this finale. As a finale, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that it could have done better. But as an episode in of itself, it had a lot of great moments. I feel like a lot of the stuff that happened in 14 could have been in 13. This isn't something I've thought through. This is something I'm just thinking about right now. Because, like, Penny dying didn't feel as climactic as I believe it should have. I feel like because Volume 3 set it up as like, oh, Penny's death, oh, Kira's death, that Penny dying a second time wasn't really the culmination of this volume's stakes. Atlas Falling was really cool and interesting to see, but like it doesn't really have as much of an impact now that we're like, oh, I guess they saved everyone. They used a magic wand to teleport everyone to safety. Except, I mean, not really safety because there's Grimm, but like, oh, look, Winter went through and she's clearly going to be able to save people. A couple people already got carried off, but like long-term impact overall isn't going to be that big. It's not... I mean, Atlas Falling is going to be big. Like, that's going to be big. Like, the Fall of Beacon was huge, but this is an entire continent destroyed. But it still feels like it went way too easy. Like, it was clearly a loss for our heroes, and it needed to be a loss for our heroes, and it needed to be a win for the villains. But Sam lost half of her staff. She got her staff, but she lost her staff. Oscar unionized them. And then Cinder killed one of them. And it's hard to judge finales, because it's like... judging it as an episode of itself is really difficult because it's like you have all of these setups, all of these plot lines that you're responsible for wrapping up for the volume. That's a lot to put on a finale, but I feel like they could benefit from learning that the payoff doesn't just have to be in the final episode or the final few episodes even. You can have steady payoff in like the second half of your volume. There should be payoff along the way, like the Hound dying. That was an end to an arc. That was a payoff. Set them on their next path. Set them on the next thing. Have more things happen. Have more payoff for things that were already established. If they're not going to be important in the finale, give them some sort of resolution prior to it. So it's really hard to judge the finale itself in its own. I want to put it in mixed bag. But at the same time, I want to put it in great. So this is the problem with tier lists, is that I'm like, okay, where does it belong? Just in the tier list itself, like based on the categories, I could put it in mixed bag or great. But then looking at what episodes I've actually put in those categories already, I'm like, but is it better or worse than this one? Like, is it better than 6? It depends on your definition of better. It had a bigger emotional impact on me than 6. Both made me cry, I think. 14 made me cry a lot more. Do I include the song Friend, the end credit song? Do I get to include that as part of the episode? Because if I include that as part of the episode, it elevates that episode a lot. But then didn't recently, like, Miles or someone say something about, like, oh, the songs aren't canon unless we say they are, which is just... That's just everything in the show is any supplemental material isn't canon unless it is, or is canon unless it isn't. Just put what is meant to be in the show, and anything that's extra can be out of the show. But if it affects the show at all, put it in the show. Make Ironwood Semblance an actual thing and not just a fun trivia fact that totally affects the plot, but we're only going to mention in a panel. I like getting to be drunk and salty. I feel like I'm being extra mean, but I feel less guilty about it. It's like, as a writer who hasn't done enough, like, anything near the level of RWBY, like, obviously. So, like, I can't act as if I'm a professional because I'm not. But as a person who's written anything ever, there's a lot that could be done better in a lot of these episodes and in a lot of the volume. But I'm not going to get into that right now. The question is, where does 14 belong? It either goes in mixed bag after 11. We'll go ahead of 11. I feel like 11 is more of a cohesive thing. I feel like there's so many bits of 14 that went poorly. I wouldn't put it in solid. It's not solid. It might be great, but it's not solid. Does that make sense? Because like the solid is like, it did what it needed to do. Here's its job. It's cohesive. It's tied together. It did it well. 14 didn't do that for me. It didn't tie everything together in a way that was satisfactory, but like also it had the most riding on it as an expectation to be the thing to fix everything or just solve everything or like resolve everything. And 11 didn't have all that same pressure. And so I also want to put it in great because there were really intense emotional parts of it, and I did cry, and I did like a lot of what happened. Like I said, mixed bag isn't necessarily below great and solid, and it's not necessarily above decent. Decent, but There was a lot that was certainly quite hype about chapter 14. You know, I think like there's a lot that is left to be desired with it. I feel like I want to put it in great, but I don't feel like it deserves it. I want to put it in great, but I don't feel like it's earned it. I think it belongs in mixed bag, actually. Now that I think about it, I think it belongs in mixed bag. Huh. Again, with 11, I really liked it. One of the best episodes of the volume, but it goes in mixed bag because there's some stuff I really liked and some stuff I really hated about both of these. So, I feel like it's fair. I feel like I'm being fair. I feel like I'm being a good, fair person putting it there. But is 14 or 11 better? I mean, 14 made me cry. But, like, writing-wise, maybe 11 was first. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just say that the mixed bag category is just mixed, and I don't have to order which one's where is which. Especially because, like, 1 and 2, it's like, okay, well, which one is more solid, as in more cohesive and firm on what it is, be 1, but I think 2 is better. So it's complicated. And then 9 and 10, I don't know which one is best. I really like them both. Maybe I'll try to make a video on why 9 and 10, I believe, were the peak of the volume. Not as in, like, everything else from there was downhill, because I feel like 11 wasn't downhill in the sense of, oh, this is worse. I don't think it goes on the same level as 9 and 10, because, like, those are the ones that I was like, oh, shit, this is incredible. This is the best. And 11 wasn't as, like, oh, this is the best, but it wasn't also worse, if that makes any sense. Like, it wasn't a bad episode, and it wasn't something that I felt took away from the momentum. We needed a pause. We needed to take a breath before the shit hit the fan. And that's what 11 did. It did its job. I don't know. So 11 and 14 just know that they could go up or they could go down. Because mixed bag is not necessarily right there. So I think 11 and 14, I did like both of those more than 1 and 2. So maybe I could just go like, boop. Oh, but the colors are bad. I don't like that. Make it go away. What did I do? Oh no, you guys, I'm ruining everything. Everything's going to shit. What have I done? What have I done? I shouldn't have messed with the balance of things. Okay, everything's okay. Guys, no need to panic, crisis averted. Fixed. So that is my tentative tier list for the moment. I wonder what my old ones were. Let's go on a trip to Tumblr, shall we? What is this post? r/conservative u/concerned engine cough. I totally forgot what I was going on Tumblr for. What was I looking for? Oh, wait. Oh my god, Harriet's scream was so good there. Alright, I was gonna see what my other tier... Because I made a post about it. Why is that up there? That's not... Tumblr, what are you doing? Or are you being stupid? Why is that? What? Whatever. Fucking forget it. Oh my god, that's so good. That has nothing to do with tiers. Okay, here we go. Tier list thing. So that was my first answer. Here were my first answers. I want to compare. So I had 10, 9, 7, 4, 13, 14. What do I got now for those? 10, 9 are still where they are. 7 got demoted. 5 got promoted. 14 got put in mixed bag. 13, 4, and 6. I think 6 got promoted. It was in solid with Amity before because I was like, oh, it's a solid episode in of itself. But like in the volume as a whole, it didn't feel as much, but I don't know. I don't know. Mixed bag is still risk. Again, that's the one that I mentioned. Remember at the beginning, if you were paying attention, you got the foreshadowing. It wasn't foreshadowing. I just told you that there was one. But risk is the one that I made mixed bag for because I love so much about risk. That it's just frustrating that the things that were tied up, like the Osmond stuff, was like so many volumes in the making. And then it's like solved like that. And it's just, well, I guess we can forgive. I'm not going to get into that. Again, what did Oz do wrong? You did the same thing. I mean, obviously there was stuff that was done wrong, and obviously there's nuance in the situation, but it wasn't handled with nuance. That's the issue. I had 12 and 8 in the same places, and 1, 2, and 3 were all indecent, but Oh, so I put 3 lower than the other 2 this time and moved those ones up to solid. That's interesting. Oh, but I also did I went to talk with other people. Oh, and then I rethought things. Well, that's nice of me to rethink some things. Look at me go. Oh yeah, I was like this, and I'll just change things and I'll put it below. So what was this one? It was 9 is above 10. I don't know which one goes where. I don't know, you guys. Maybe I'll put 9 here just because it was more cohesive overall, and this one had the... Well, the only reason I would put this one below was because of the tonal whiplash of the reuniting scene. Because, like, this one had so much fucking effort and effects. They both did. They're both good. This one was more cohesive, but this one was more comprehensive. Does that make any sense? They can be tied. They can be tied for equal different reasons. 7, 5. So I had 7 above 5, and now I made 5 above 7. Yeah. This one I had 4 above 13, but I think I'm cool with putting 13 above 4. I think they're close. They're just very different because it's like, obviously 13 was a more like amped up episode, like exciting and crazy stuff happening, so it feels like I should put it above 4. But 4 in of itself was like such a good episode that I was like, wow, this volume's only going up and up and up. But maybe my view of 13 was tainted because of 12. I don't know. I don't know, man. 11, 1, 8, 12. 11, 14, 3, 8, 12. Yeah, 1 I moved up. Maybe 1 goes into decent, but honestly. But 2 doesn't fit solid, you know? Like, it wasn't solid. I enjoyed it. Maybe I should change solid to got the job done. Oh no, my battery's running low. I better hurry and do quick. This one's got the job done. Yeah, that's fine. That works. Everything's okay now. The world's better. There we go. There's the list. 10 and 9 are tied. 5 and 7, I'm not sure which goes first. Then 13 and 4, I'm not sure which goes first. Then 6. 2, then 1. These 2 could go up. They could go down, depending on the things. But 11, I put above 14 for reasons that I explained already. That is good. Penny's death, I know a lot of people hated. I feel like I was more okay with it because of how much I hated her getting a real girl body, that I was like, okay, death is better to me. Penny dying hurts less than Penny getting a human girl body, real girl, blah, blah, blah. Like, that hurt. Like, that, not just even like in the, oh, crying, this is a painful. It wasn't meant to be painful. It was meant to be a good thing, and that's why it twists my guts, and I hate it. I hate chapter 12. I hate chapter 12. It wasn't unenjoyable, but I hated it. Or at least I hate it now. Because, like, watching it, I was, like, along for the ride, but in hindsight, and also just while watching it, I was already still upset, and I was, like, trying to enjoy it and feel it in the moment instead of being too critical, but, like, after I watched something, I'm like, alright, let's think about this critically, and it sucked. But yeah, 9 and 10, I think, are two of the best episodes of RWBY ever, and 5. You know what? Maybe I should add another. Add a row below. Oh, I made 2, you guys. Oh no, I have to delete one. One of their life's gonna have to end. This goes here. This goes here. I'll label it wow, as this was something that made me go wow. And it was. And best of the best is even better, but this made me go wow. Should I change the colors? That sounds like a lot of effort and work and hard things to do. But maybe hard things are worth it sometimes, you guys. Sometimes things matter in the way that you don't expect. I'm real drunk. I'm such a lightweight. I haven't had that much to drink. I should drink more things. Whee! We're gonna go on that one, and then worst can be that color. There we go. I made it more rainbowy. Okay. Wow is a good category. I like this. This I feel good about. 13 and 4, I feel like I could move around. Because 13, like, the ups were even more uppy. 4, like, there's 2 main scenes that I remember 4 that I feel like carried the episode, but I feel like there was a lot of 4 that was a lot lower than a lot of 13. And, like, if I view 13 as not having the context of 12 being, like, do not fall, then it definitely beats 4. Definitely is actually not definite. Never mind. Got the job done. I might switch back to be saying solid. Whatever. This is the order that they're in right now. It'll probably change. It'll probably change many times, and that's the nature of life, you guys. And that's okay. Sometimes life is like that. Oh no, the battery's gonna die, and everything's gonna be over. That's okay. That's okay. We'll get through this together. That's it. There's the tier list. The end. Everything's great and fun and wonderful. Fun and wonderful. One and wonderful? What are your thoughts? What are your favorite episodes, your least favorite? I could be wrong about a lot of these. Or maybe I'm right about everything forever and always. Yeah, I just swapped those. Shut up. What about it? Don't tell anyone. It's our little secret. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a swell night and or day and or... Let me know your thoughts, because I want to know them, because mine are subject to change, because I have changed this tier list a bunch of times, and I just stepped away from it and came back. So, this could be drastically different the next time I try to arrange it. I love you all. I hope you're having a wonderful life, and even if the world sucks, you don't. And I think you should know that and believe it and internalize it. Hiccuping, but I mean it. Alright, goodbye.